And now to claims from a former bishop's daughter accusing her father of sexually abusing her for more than a decade.
Now in her mid-30s, Chelsea Goodrich claims a representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints offered to pay her $300,000 for her silence. The Associated Press says Bishop Michael Miller contacted the church's helpline after Goodrich confessed to him. It's a confession that to this day is still being held as private. Now, the AP says Goodrich was later arrested on charges of sexual abuse and the church excommunicated him. Chelsea says she asked the church to testify in her father's trial, but the church said no, claiming under Idaho's clergy law, Miller cannot testify without her father's permission.
This experience putting the spotlight on existing laws here in Utah that prevent religious leaders from mandatory reporting without the consent of the person confessing.
Now that's right. ABC4 News learned how some Utah legislators are trying to oppose this law, claiming it's a safety and protection issue.
I'm not trying to tell people not to practice their faith of choice. My concern is that we're not doing enough to protect children.
It's an issue of protection. That's according to Utah State Representative Angela Romero. She's talking about what's known as the clergy law here in Utah.
Is it really something we should keep confidential when we know a child's being sexually abused by an adult? And that's the question I pose for the public.
Utah State Legislature says under the law, a member of the clergy or priest cannot, without the consent of the person making the confession, be examined as to any confession made to either of them in their professional character in the course of discipline enjoined by the church to which they belong. In other words, religious leaders are not allowed to report a church member's confession to law enforcement without the consent of the person confessing. That creates some concerns for Utah State Representative Phil Lyman.
As I read through the law right now, it seems like it creates more questions than answers. And for me, that what is lacking in the law is what I would call proportionality.
Lyman believes there should be what he calls a proportionality scale. Rather than lumping every case under the clergy law, he believes they should be judged case by case.
I don't think the law wants to interfere with religious practices when they're not rising to the level of criminality. And by the same token, I don't think the church wants to defend perpetrators when it rises to the level of criminality. So that's where we have to define it.
It's something both he and Representative Romero have tried to work on.
My job as a policymaker is to protect children and to make sure that their perpetrators are held accountable.
Both representatives drafted bills proposing to revise the law, allowing clergy members to report certain cases or confessions. Neither bill was passed.
After speaking with both representatives, Representative Lyman says he hopes to reintroduce similar bills in the future.